Have you ever been in that spot where, you've got all the facts lined up, but your argument just falls flat? Maybe putting together a business proposal or writing a paper or even just trying to make a point in a discussion. It feels like just having information isn't quite enough. You need something more, something grounded. So today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, how to build those really rock-solid arguments. We're looking at an editorial from the Academy of Management Journal called Publishing in AMJ Part 4, Grounding Hypotheses. Now, okay, it's aimed at academics, but the core ideas about making a persuasive, logical case, I think they apply pretty much anywhere.
Absolutely. Our mission here really is to pull out those key principles. How do you make sure your claims aren't just, thrown out there, but are clear, they're logical, and they actually add something valuable, moving past just listing stuff?
Okay, so let's unpack this. The article jumps right into a tricky balance. Using existing research without falling into what they call argument by citation. Where you
Yeah.
see sentences starting with citations, like the reference is the point, and your actual reasoning gets kind of buried.
Exactly. It makes the work feel more like a literature review than an actual argument you're building. And crucially, it doesn't really persuade anyone of your specific insight.
So how do you avoid that?
Well, the big insight here is that citations should illustrate your logic. They shouldn't be the logic. They even give this great tip. Try writing out your core argument first, without any citations, like none at all.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it forces you to make sure your reasoning actually hangs together on its own. Is it clear? Is it coherent? Then, once that structure is solid, you weave in the research that supports or illustrates those points. The aim is a theoretically driven narrative, right? Not just a guided tour of who said what.
That makes a lot of sense. Own the logic first. Okay, so you've got that clear internal argument. How do you actually, substantiate it? What tools does the article suggest to make your claims convincing, especially if your audience is a bit skeptical?
Right, so they lay out three main ways to really back up your hypotheses or claims.
Right.
First, link it to established theory. Connect your idea to a core principle from a known framework. But, and this is key, you have to actually explain that connection. Don't just name the theory. Show why it applies here.
So make the link explicit.
Exactly.
What?
Second, you can offer empirical evidence. Use findings from previous studies that looked at similar things. But again, the evidence isn't enough by itself. You need a strong, logical explanation alongside it. Show how that past evidence supports your specific point now.
Okay, logic is still central.
Always. And the third way is to craft a narrative. Explain the how. Describe the process, the steps, the mechanisms that make your hypothesized relationship happen. Like if you say networking helps careers, explain how maybe through getting information or building trust or whatever the steps are. And of course, think about context. Does this always hold true? When might it not?
That covers grounding a single idea pretty well. But what about when things get more complex? Sometimes you need to bring in multiple theories or ideas. How do you manage that without it becoming a confusing mess?
Ah, yes, using multiple theories. It can be really insightful, but you're right, it needs careful handling. The article suggests a few ways. One is pitting theories against each other. You basically present competing explanations or hypotheses based on different theories.
Okay, like theory A predicts this, but theory B predicts the opposite.
Sort of, yeah. But the crucial part is explaining why and when one might be more powerful than the other. You ideally need a way to test that. Another approach is combining theories additively. You might use different theories to explain different factors that all influence the same outcome. But you need a clear framework showing how these different pieces fit together, why these factors and not others.
So bringing different perspectives to bear on one problem.
Exactly. And the third way is integrating theories. This is where you show that two theories actually complement each other. Maybe the assumptions of one theory actually support or are even needed by the other. You show they work better together. But no matter which approach you take, pitting, combining, integrating, the absolute must-have is coherent.
Coherence, meaning?
Meaning you need to clearly justify why these specific theories or variables are being used and how they logically connect to form one unified, understandable argument. It can't just feel like a random collection.
Right, it needs a clear underlying structure. Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about the mistakes? The common pitfalls people fall into when trying to ground their arguments. What are the big gotchas the editors warn about?
They highlight three main ones. First is a lack of specificity. This is where you invoke some really broad theory, like, say, social exchange theory, but you don't clearly connect its general ideas to your specific hypothesis. You need to bridge that gap.
So don't just say, because of motivation theory. Explain how that theory applies right here.
Precisely. The second pitfall is fragmented theorizing. This looks like using a different, unrelated theory for every single link in your argument. It can make it seem like you just grabbed theories after the fact to justify what you found. Using multiple theories is fine, remember, but they need to be integrated somehow, not just stapled together.
So it goes back to that coherence point again.
It really does. And the third one is interesting. It's stating the obvious. Sometimes a hypothesis is just, well, self-evident. It doesn't really add anything new or challenge existing thinking.
How do you avoid that?
They offer this intriguing advice. Try to flirt with the null hypothesis. Basically, seriously consider the plausibility of the opposite of your argument. Could the opposite be true? Why or why not? If the opposite seems completely absurd with no thought, maybe your hypothesis is too obvious. This pushes you towards finding relationships that are genuinely insightful, not just common sense.
Flirt with the null. I like that. It forces you to ensure you're adding real value. Okay, so wrapping this up then. Grounding your arguments isn't just about having facts or citing sources. It's about building that strong, logical structure, really explaining the how and why, engaging properly with what came before, and making sure it all fits together coherently. It's about making a real contribution.
Exactly. And whether you're, writing something formal or pitching an idea at work or just trying to convince a friend about something important, this whole deep dive is a good reminder that the strength of what you say often comes down to how well you've actually grounded it. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Think about your own work, your own arguments. Where could applying these ideas about clarity, logic, coherence make the biggest difference for you? What's one area where a stronger grounding could really elevate your point?